XLM and HBAR are quietly rebuilding the financial system, and no one's paying attention. The quiet accumulators, why HBAR and XLM are moving without hype. While the crypto spotlight dances over meme coins and ETF speculation, the infrastructure of a new financial system is being engineered in silence. At the heart of that transformation, XLM and HBAR. These aren't speculative tokens chasing pump and dumps. These are foundational tools embedding themselves in the financial, technological, and regulatory fabric of the future. You're not going to see influencers shilling HBAR or XLM with rocket emojis. You won't find TikTokers hyping them up. Why? Because the people accumulating them aren't chasing dopamine hits. They're enterprise strategists, central banks, and sovereign tech advisors. They're not in this for likes. They're here to replace systems that move trillions of dollars, and they're doing it quietly. Let's talk about what most investors are missing. Price isn't the only signal that matters. In fact, when utility tokens are undervalued, that's often the clearest signal of real adoption flying under the radar. And right now, both Hedera and Stellar are doing just that. Think about it. When was the last time you saw a parabolic chart followed by long-term adoption? Exactly. Hype is noisy. Infrastructure is quiet. But it's the quiet ones that flip industries. Remember Amazon in the late 90s? Nobody cared until they were too big to ignore. That's where HBAR and XLM are now. XLM has long focused on cross-border remittances, compliance, and financial inclusion. But in 2025, it's shifting from NGO-friendly to Wall Street grade. Stellar isn't just partnering with humanitarian organizations anymore. It's onboarding trillion-dollar asset managers, integrating with global money transfer rails, and powering regulated stablecoin ecosystems. It went from idealism to infrastructure. Meanwhile, HBAR is aligning with big tech, AI hardware companies, and nation-states. It's not just a DLT. It's becoming the plumbing layer for verified data, compute trust, tokenization of real assets, and the future of audit trails in AI governance. It's not a blockchain play. It's a sovereignty protocol. Here's what the smart money sees. While most chains are still fighting for retail mindshare, HBAR and XLM are building for the next financial epoch, where regulated tokens, verified data, and atomic settlement aren't buzzwords. They're baseline expectations. And the best part? This entire infrastructure cycle is still priced like it's a speculation game. This isn't a hype cycle. It's an infrastructure cycle. And those who recognize it early are going to be holding the pipes while everyone else is still chasing the water. BAR's enterprise AI takeover. Let's start with HBAR. This network isn't just making noise. It's making moves that rewrite the role of distributed ledgers in the age of artificial intelligence. While the rest of the market debates meme coin catalysts, Hedera is embedding itself directly into the neural spine of next-generation tech infrastructure. This isn't about speculation. It's about strategic positioning. Hedera just made one of the most important chess moves in crypto, aligning itself with the hardware and governance stack of artificial intelligence. The centerpiece? A powerful alliance with NVIDIA and Intel through the Verifiable Compute Initiative. Translation: Hedera's consensus mechanism will become a native audit layer for AI systems. We're talking about AI that doesn't just spit out results, it cryptographically proves how it got there. Every input, every decision, every output, stamped, logged, and verifiable on Hedera. This is the future of AI regulation. It's not about slowing down models. It's about accountability at scale. And Hedera is quietly becoming the chain of record for provable compute integrity. And they're not doing it in a vacuum. The alliance includes heavyweights like Dell, Palantir, ServiceNow, and Databricks. These aren't your typical crypto partners. These are multi-billion-dollar tech infrastructure providers betting on Hedera as the layer of trust in an AI-native world. What does that tell you? That HBAR is moving up the stack. It's not trying to compete with DeFi chains or NFT platforms. It's becoming the base layer for provable, auditable compute in industries that will define the next decade. But that's just the surface. Let's talk quantum. In May 2025, Hedera announced a partnership with SEALSQ to implement quantum-resistant security through hardware modules. Think about that for a second. While most chains are barely thinking about Ethereum L2 gas savings, Hedera is preparing for a post-quantum world. It's not just securing transactions for today's users. It's locking down the future of machine-to-machine economies. And the implications are enormous. As governments and Fortune 500 companies prepare for the quantum shift, they're going to need ledgers that are not just fast or cheap, but provably resilient to tomorrow's threats. Hedera is already there. Still not convinced this is institutional grade? Here's a signal you can't ignore. Nasdaq just filed to list a Hedera ETF. Not some tokenized basket of speculative altcoins, an actual ETF tracking one of the most undervalued enterprise chains in existence. That's Wall Street saying, yeah, this isn't a toy anymore. And while we're on the subject of global scale, India's carbon credit tokenization pilot is another massive move. The world's most populous nation is using Hedera's tech stack to track, tokenize, and validate carbon offsets generated from solar farms. And this isn't theoretical. It's already happening via Hashpack wallet. Those credits? They're being bought, sold, and traced across decentralized markets, all on-chain, all verifiable. That's ESG, sustainability, DePIN, and enterprise adoption all converging on a single ledger. No buzzwords, just real-world integration. HBAR is no longer just a token. It's becoming a layer of trust in a world demanding transparency, accountability, and security. From AI systems to national sustainability frameworks. This isn't just a bullish narrative. It's the institutionalization of digital trust. XLM's institutional transformation. While Hedera takes on AI, Stellar is locking down the TradFi layer. But it's not doing it with hype or headlines. It's doing it with quiet competence and bulletproof compliance. This isn't about chasing the next shiny trend. This is about embedding financial-grade infrastructure into the deepest layers of global finance. Start with Franklin Templeton. A $1.7 trillion asset manager doesn't just experiment with blockchain. They move with intent. And they've chosen Stellar to tokenize their money market funds. Why? Because Stellar settles in under 5 seconds, costs fractions of a cent per transaction, and meets the compliance benchmarks that institutions demand. It's not a test. It's live. Real assets, real investors, real regulatory oversight, all running through Stellar rails. That's not speculation. That's transformation. Then there's IBM. Remember when IBM's blockchain division was the future of enterprise DLT? Well, it turns out Stellar is the network that quietly outlasted the hype. IBM's Stronghold project uses Stellar as its base layer to deliver enterprise-grade payment and settlement infrastructure. That's a Fortune 100 company choosing Stellar not because of buzz, but because it works. And the integrations don't stop there. MoneyGram? Fully on board. Circle's USDC? Natively issued on Stellar. These aren't fringe projects. These are infrastructure-level players plugging into a network that's built for scale, auditability, and compliance. And then there's Jed McCaleb, the co-founder of Stellar, launching a literal space station company. Vast is sending commercial orbital platforms into low Earth orbit with SpaceX. What does that have to do with Stellar? Everything. One of the proposed payloads, Stellar core nodes. That's not just symbolism. That's physical decentralization taken to the extreme. A blockchain with nodes in space? It sends a message to regulators and technologists alike. Stellar is building for redundancy, resilience, and global uptime. This is what legacy adoption looks like. It's slow, it's deliberate, and it's quietly explosive. Stellar isn't trying to be flashy. It's becoming indispensable. Whether it's tokenizing treasuries, powering space-based nodes, or enabling cross-border USDC settlements at the retail level, XLM is the rails under tomorrow's financial plumbing. No memes, no gimmicks, just institutional-grade innovation at scale. How these quiet moves set up a massive price dislocation. Here's the alpha. Utility tokens don't run on hype, they run on real-world traction. And while the rest of the market chases ETF headlines and memecoin pumps, HBAR and XLM are engineering something much bigger beneath the surface. A mispriced, misunderstood wave of institutional-grade infrastructure. Let's start with Hedera. Its asset tokenization studio isn't some experiment. It's a full-service pipeline onboarding government agencies, asset managers, and Fortune 500 players. Green bonds, carbon credits, commercial real estate, all tokenized and issued through a studio that abstracts away crypto complexity and delivers bank-grade UX. This is how institutions onboard. Quietly, securely, and without fanfare. Meanwhile, Stellar is already the default backend for regulated fiat flows. Franklin Templeton? Already live. MoneyGram ramps? Operational. Circle USDC? Seamlessly integrated. We're talking programmable, tokenized fiat that actually complies with regulation and scales to billions in daily flows. What does this all point to? A foundational shift in market structure. While Ethereum is still fighting L2 congestion and Solana is trying to survive memecoin cycles, HBAR and XLM are becoming the protocol layer for tokenized real-world assets, AI compliance stacks, and regulated finance. This isn't priced in. When capital starts flowing, real capital, not speculative capital, the repricing event will be violent. Because these aren't tokens looking for users. They're infrastructure rails with users already on board. And the moment those systems go from pilot to production, the flows will start. This is the setup before the parabolic curve. The liquidity is already forming. The partners are already in place. The regulations are catching up. And the pipes, those quietly built by Hedera and Stellar, are about to carry volume that dwarfs anything retail investors are anticipating. That's how price dislocations happen. Not from noise, from silence breaking into scale. The final warning: don't sleep on utility tokens. Here's your final warning. Utility doesn't trend on Twitter until it's too late. Remember Ethereum in 2016? It was a nerd's experiment in smart contracts. Then enterprises started building. JP Morgan, Microsoft, the EA. Suddenly, ETH went from an afterthought to a financial backbone. And if you waited for headlines to confirm it, you bought the top. Today, HBAR and XLM are running the same playbook, just 10 times quieter, and arguably in more critical sectors. They're not asking for retail attention. They're building in silence under NDAs alongside governments, Fortune 100 companies, central banks, and AI governance boards. These are tokens solving multi-trillion-dollar inefficiencies. Hedera is building trust layers into AI systems that will power the global economy. Stellar is becoming the de facto standard for tokenized fiat, securities, and compliant global payments, all while carrying market caps under $5 billion. That's not just a mispricing. That's the kind of asymmetric bet that turns portfolios into legacies. CBDCs? Hedera and Stellar are both on shortlists across the globe. India, Europe, Africa, these aren't maybe later use cases. They're live pilots. AI trust infrastructure? Hedera's in the room with NVIDIA, Intel, and Palantir. Tokenized treasuries and money markets? Stellar's already carrying Franklin Templeton's assets. And here's where it gets insane. Stellar may literally run a node from space. Hedera is already preparing for a post-quantum security world. These aren't buzzwords. These are chess moves 5 years ahead of the industry. This is how it happens. First slowly, then all at once. One day, these networks will hit a tipping point. Volume will spike. Token demand will surge. The narratives will write themselves. But if you're buying utility at narrative peak, you're exit liquidity. If you're buying now, you're ahead of the curve. This is the cycle where infrastructure wins. Not because it's loud, but because it's necessary. So if you're still chasing memecoins, hoping for a rotation into fundamentals, stop. The rotation isn't coming. The rails are already being laid. Quietly, permanently. HBAR and XLM aren't just assets. They're infrastructure. They're embedded. And they're about to break out. This isn't about hype. This is about being early to the systems that will power the next financial paradigm. Subscribe to Be Crypto Smart so you don't miss the signals everyone else will notice too late.